Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? As always, wherever you are in the world coming in from. I was a little bit late in posting this video. I realized my hair is a little bit messed up, right? There's always that one, right, hair that, I don't have like straight hair. I have this like wavy, crazy, curly hair, and I'm so jealous of people who have like straight hair because uh, it's easy to manage, easy to brush. This wavy hair, it just goes everywhere. You should see me in the wind if it's ever a windy day. That's why I got to get my hair cut soon. I'm going to the hairstylist soon. Down the block. I'm super lazy sometimes, so just even a walk down the block can be too much for me. Anyway, I had to force myself to get out of the house. So speaking of that, this is about goal setting for 2026, and I really believe goal setting is very important. There are a lot of there's a lot of content on YouTube, anti-goals and but we have to put this into context a little bit. Even in, everybody talks about atomic habits, right? Atomic habits is, and by the way, atomic habits is something that is highly referenced. Like James Clear is discussed a lot, and his work is discussed a lot in among psychologists. It's real psychological, based on real psychological principles. That book is not fluff. And so one thing he talks about is, yes, you have to create systems, not goals, right? You rise to the level of or you fall to the level of your systems. Sorry, you rise to the level of your systems, you fall to the level of your goals, something like that. But the idea here is that goals alone won't keep you hitting your goals. There's a lot of there is also a lot of psychological literature about this, that you're very excited in the beginning of goal setting, right? There's that reward system that's set up. You're really excited. You might go for a few weeks. Let's say go to the gym, work on a new diet routine, start reading consistently, start learning something new consistently, start working on a new skill, start doing career, new job searches, or start a new business, whatever that is. And you're all excited in that first part. And then it's kind of in the middle that it gets tough. And then toward the end, though, that's kind of where typically people kind of resurface. If you can get far enough, you resurface toward the end of that goal, and you're able to more easily get at it. So, Nuggets, welcome. All right, you sent a gift. I really appreciate that. That gift. So welcome. So what I want to talk about is not the goal setting. I mean, there are plenty of goal setting methods and models out there. Yes, should you set a SMART goal, right? SMART. If you haven't heard of it, I wouldn't even need to talk about it. You can go look it up. In fact, I'm going to do I'm actually releasing very soon a completely free mini course on decision making. And it's a whole science of decision making. Science based from decision theory, but highly practical, with you to be able to, just in time for the new year, or right before the new year, for you to be able to implement all this stuff. Lena, welcome, top fans. Eiko, welcome. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Eiko? Eiko or Eco? I think I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm gonna say Eiko. Yeah, so there's plenty of material out there on goal setting. Again, watch out for the link. Look out for the link, because I'll be posting on my community tab shortly for a webinar, like goal setting webinar for the new year and all of that. So you can join live, you can ask questions, you can interact. It'll be really, really fun. And I will be sending out the link for that free course, by the way, as well. Totally free. I know a lot of you have reached out to me, like, why don't you have more free resources? Like, you have I know I have the Critical Thinking Academy, which is, some people are like, oh, I don't have the money for it. It's fine. I am trying to release more and more free material for you guys to be able to take advantage of, and like things that are not just like free, but free and very high value for you guys. Prahlad, how are you? I'm great. And Tiki Taka, welcome. Yes. You're writing English. Tiki Taka, I know maybe I'm speaking fast. And TM personal. Okay, I'm trying to get to everybody. Hi, hey, welcome, welcome. Here's my dog. She's bothering me. Look at her. She's bothering me as I'm on here. So Tiki Taka, I understand in terms of speaking English, speaking another language. It's very hard to listen to somebody in another language speak, right? Especially when they're speaking the normal pace of the language. And I understand because I'm learning Mandarin right now. I'm learning Chinese, and I always hear, oh, so fast, slow down. You can go ahead and look at the recording. Watch the recording of this, okay? And you can learn from that as well. You can slow it down. You can repeat things. Yeah, she is a beautiful dog. She's really a beautiful dog. You might have seen her in some of my YouTube videos. I have to put her in more of my YouTube videos. But yeah, TM personal. I'm wondering if you've ever experienced a period like this in your own experience. If so, how did you manage to overcome those challenges personally? I'm not sure about what period like this you're talking about. Like what specifically you're talking about. Let me know. Yeah, thank you, Shiva. Welcome, Shiva. You have a great name, right? Shiva, the in Hindu, the god, that god in Hindu. So, Tyler, yeah, a beautiful dog. I'm okay, great. I'm a beautiful dog. So, staying consistent in my efforts lately, and I find myself falling back into patterns that set me back. Yeah. So actually, I'm going to talk about this. So this is a perfect segue. I'm going to talk about this, right? I wanted to talk about not the setting up your goals. Yeah, you have to define your goal, right? You have to define your goal. It's very important to define it well, right? And there are many things that go into this. Again, I have a free course that you guys can take about this coming up that I'm going to be posting. Totally free. Again, you don't have to spend a dime, but it's a really good course. A lot of worksheets and materials you can use. Very practical stuff. So look out for the link. It'll be coming soon on my community tab. But yeah, so let me answer this. We talked about at the beginning that you get all excited about a goal, and then in between is when you lose motivation. And then toward the end is where you kind of gain that motivation again. But what do we do about the in-between part? So I'll give you an example of what happened to me many times before. I'll just give you an example, and maybe we can all learn from this. I used to struggle with, for instance, a lot of people struggle with this, going to the gym or exercising. And you don't have to go to the gym to exercise. You don't have to do anything special. Like, exercise is free. There are a lot of ways you can exercise. And even if you're limited in mobility, right, maybe you're in a wheelchair or whatever, it doesn't matter. There are forms of exercise you can always do, no matter your age, right? But the thing is, I had tried several times to be really consistent with exercise. In fact, I was consistent with exercise once for like 3 months, and then I was consistent with exercise another time for like 6 months, and I just kept falling off, right? And this wasn't even a lot of like big exercise. This was like 15 minutes of exercise, maybe 3 times per week, and it was a real struggle. Fast forward a little bit. I've been consistent with exercise, going to the gym and doing a full workout, cardio, strength for, hey Sai, welcome. I've been consistent with this for like 2.5 years now. Really consistent with it for 2.5 years. So what changed? One thing that, and maybe you can immediately apply this, and I will be talking about this in a future video actually. It's like we have to learn when to think, when thinking is appropriate, and when thinking is not appropriate. And what do I mean by that? So sometimes we think, you should always rationalize about your decisions. You should plan out, right? Rationally plan out your decisions, sure. You should weigh costs and benefits. You should reflect on your values. But it's not always appropriate in the moment to think. So for instance, I realized a lot of thinking was getting in the way of my, and that hissing, by the way, it's my heater. I can't avoid it. They automatically do this. In New York City, when you live in New York City in apartments, they automatically put the heat on and it makes noise. You have no control. I have no control. I just have to open a window or something if it gets too hot. But anyway, so you have to take What was I gonna say? What was I saying? What was I saying? Yeah, you have to stop thinking sometimes. So actually, stopping thinking. Let me give you an example. I get up in the morning now, and I have the same thought process that I did before. Um, I have the same thought process that I did before. And what's the same process? Oh, I'm too tired. I don't wanna go to the gym today. Maybe I'll skip today. Maybe I even try to rationalize to myself sometimes. Do you do this sometimes? Try to rationalize to myself sometimes. Well, if I don't go to the gym today, I'll have more time to do, this project that I want to work on. Or I might have more time to read. Or I might have, and so you start to rationalize why you shouldn't, right? Especially if you're a really rational person, a thoughtful person, you'll do this. Research has shown you'll engage in what's called motivated reasoning more so than maybe other individuals will. So this motivated reasoning is often what holds us back from achieving our goals. So I've actually gotten into the habit when I start feeling that way, or when I start listening, or when I start rationalizing like this. I actually have a habit of I say, okay, shut off my brain, right? I'm gonna stop thinking. I'm just gonna stop thinking. And I deliberately tell myself, stop thinking, right? Stop thinking, don't think, just do. And it actually helps me a lot. Now, how do you actually get to the point where you can do that? I think it takes a lot of metacognition, practicing metacognition. Farzan, welcome. Jacob, welcome. Welcome. I think it takes a lot of practicing metacognition. A lot of people think it takes discipline. I think discipline is this fuzzy concept to me. I find discipline to be a very fuzzy concept. I don't know if that takes discipline. I think that there are just certain things that you do in a day and during the day where you have to pre-commit. And if you have a specific goal that you set up beforehand, one of the ways that I found that I can stop relying on my willpower or stop relying on my feeling disciplined or whatever is to say, okay, I'm going to shut off my thinking. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about the decision. The decision was already made, right? I already made the decision. I already thought about it beforehand. I already laid out all the reasons beforehand. I already weighed all the pros and cons beforehand. I don't need to rehash that now. And so stop thinking. And I think, Sufyan, welcome. Sufyan. Thank you. I appreciate you. Focus Master, welcome. Yeah, so I think that is a really great way. If you're looking for different ways to do this, implement this, sometimes just tell yourself, catch yourself when you're overthinking. Again, this is a form of metacognition, thinking about your own thinking. Catch yourself when you're overthinking, spot it, right? One of the most powerful things to do is to spot it and say, you know what, I'm thinking too much. I already have decided before that this is a rational decision. I've already weighed the pros and cons before. I already know, so I'm going to stop thinking. I'm just going to do. Now, you have to be careful. You have to be careful with this because you have to know when to stop thinking, right? It's like sometimes, you have to, like, what's the distinction you have to make? The distinction is you should not stop thinking, right, in a situation in which you have not yet weighed the pros and cons, right? You have not yet weighed everything. So basically, you do want to take some time for all of the decisions, all of the habits that you want to set up. You want to take some time, obviously. And it doesn't have to be the new year, but you have to take some time, obviously, to sit down, really list out your values, really list out your SMART goals, SMART, right? And I have a decision matrix. It's not mine, right? None of these things are like original ideas. I'm really good at finding ideas from different places. looking at the research on them and kind of putting them all in one place. That's what I pride myself on being pretty good at. So um, so yeah, I will actually give you a decision matrix very soon. Again, look out for the free course that I'll be posting. It's a free course. A lot of worksheets available to you. I know you guys have been looking for more free material from me, so I'm trying to deliver that. And let me just read the comments here. Tyler fam, welcome. I just had this realization too. The best way to stop overthinking is to build habits. Yeah, just do the same set of actions over and over. You don't have to think whenever you do it. Yeah. I think if you watch my channel, you're probably the type of person who tends to overthink. I will actually catch myself. It's funny. It's the funniest thing. I will. You're welcome, TM. You're welcome. It's funny. I don't know who can relate to this. If you can't, if you think I'm crazy, then it's fine. But sometimes I'll find myself. I'm like just out and about, and I suddenly I think about, oh, how does like the loss function relate to the activation function and in machine learning, and the slope of the error function, right? And how does the error function basically plug into the all the weights and the biases and correct them and retest from like a forward pass. Like I get just suddenly I think things like that while I'm just walking around out and about, and like weird weird technical things come into my mind that I'm just thinking about, and then I realize like it snowballs, right? I'm curious how many people relate to this. It kind of snowballs, and then I start thinking, wait a second, but this part I haven't like investigated this aspect enough, so I don't really know. But wait, how does that relate to information theory? Wait a second, how does that relate to this aspect of computational modeling, or like this philosophical concept, or how does that relate to value theory in terms of like morality, or like just my mind starts to go in all these different places, and then I start to realize, oh, you're overthinking. Like focus on grocery shopping. It's like focus on like checking out with the items that you have. Like you're in the middle of a task, like do that, right? Like sometimes I'm finding some of these things like really really boring that I just have to do, brushing my teeth or taking a shower. Cleaning, right? It's like really boring, and it's like I want to engage my mind on other things, and then it's just but I've built up these mechanisms. That's the thing. I've built up these mechanisms over time for helping myself kind of refocus, reorient, and just notice when I'm overthinking. Notice when I'm overthinking. And notice, like, sometimes those thoughts, they need to be written down. It's just like something you need to write them down. Write it down. So I will stop. Sometimes I'll write it down, and in my journal that I keep with me, and then I'll come back to it and I'll think, okay, great. So now my mind can rest. I'll deal with that problem later, or I'll deal with this this thought or this idea later. I'll elaborate on it even more later, but at least I have a raw understanding of what I want, what I was thinking about, right? These are tools for stopping, that overthinking process. Standard run. So inference is scam, not thought. Inference is important, my friend. Inference is important. It's one of the. I mean, inference is basically one of the ways that you operate in the world, right? Without inference, you probably couldn't walk on the sidewalk. It's something as simple as that. You couldn't walk on the ground without your mind and your brain engaging in inference and predictive processing. So, Pondering Hobbits. I love that username. It's really cool. So, my Mayo doc calls it pull the viewfinder in. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I'd love more people's experiences with this, because it's great. Like that's something that holds a lot of us back from hitting goals, right? And we have to understand like what are these different aspects of overthinking that we engage in, and how do we engage in our metacognition, our critical thinking skills, right? That's a part of critical thinking is metacognition. How do we engage our metacognition to interrupt that process? That's right here in our prefrontal cortex, right? Our prefrontal cortex, our cerebellum. These help us to regulate with executive function and regulation in that way. So keep building those. Keep building those. You're building plasticity. When you do it, you're actually building plasticity, neuroplasticity, meaning you are building new uh, synapses. You're building, meaning like you're building new structure and association in your brain physically when you do it. It's an amazing process. Amazing process. The brain is an incredible thing, incredible organ. And hi, Alpha Man, welcome, welcome. The brain is incredible. I mean, it's sometimes we look at things like AI, right, and machine learning processes, and we would say, oh, that's very smart, right? Oh, there's even some new research out about this that I was reading about the predictive processing, right, of text process, predictive text with chatbots and things like that. They don't even come close to what the human to what the human brain can do. Even my dog's brain, right? It doesn't even come close to even what my dog's brain is able to do. It's an incredible thing. Um, yeah, new synapses, connection between neurons, even new structures, also new releases of neuropeptides or similar substances, right? Neurotransmitters and things like that. So it's called potentiation actually. It's a very interesting. Look up potentiation, long-term potentiation. Look up that. It's a very interesting, very fascinating kind of thing, right? Um, yeah, hard problem of consciousness. Yeah, so you'll hear me say a lot of the times the mind and the brain. I do treat them as different things because I do believe they're different things. Um, I do think the mind emerges from the brain, but I don't, philosophically speaking, I don't think they are the identical same thing, right? When you're looking at brain scans, you're not looking at the mind, you're looking at physiology. Um, Mind is an emergent property, right? So, anyway, that's a longer debate. There are plenty of people who would disagree with me. It's a form of dualism. I actually forget. Emergent mentalism is not so it's not saying specifically, oh, this is a different substance. It depends on what you mean by substance. Again, there's a whole debate here within philosophy. I consider myself more of a kind of a neo-Kantian. It's funny, the more philosophy I've read, I know this has diverged a little bit from goal setting, but you guys can go back and watch that stuff. um, the more I read philosophy, the more I dig into really, analytic philosophy, um, even things like existentialist philosophy, different types of schools of thought, Derrida and stuff like that, even like off the wall, like stuff, what you might consider, and like deep logics, different logics and things like that. It still keeps bringing me back to Immanuel Kant. And the more that I study neuroscience too, it's like it keeps bringing me back to Immanuel Kant. It's really interesting. Um, so it's like transcendental idealism. It just keeps bringing me back to that conclusion, and it's not because I think wishful thinking. It's just because I can't see an alternative. I see like it. That just makes too much sense. That point of view. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. Transcendental idealism, Kant, Immanuel Kant. It just makes too much sense. I think it makes too much sense. Hegel has critiqued him. And many philosophers have critiqued Kant. And sure, but all it has really done is kind of, I think, update and refine Kant's ideas. I don't think it has that critique has obliterated Kant's ideas. That's my opinion. But anyway, um, and then consciousness is the most magical thing. Really, we can feel something. Pain, pleasure, evolution could continue even if we don't feel something. Yeah, I mean, the mind and the brain are definitely, correspond. right, correspond to each other. They're what you might call isomorphic in some way, in a very real way. Isomorphic just means, something follows the same pattern, right? It follows the same pattern. There's a correspondence between, two things. So yeah, definitely. Although I'm still undecided about like what is the mind. I don't have answers about that. There are people who do philosophy just on philosophy of mind and philosophy of consciousness, who have a lot more complex and nuanced answers than I possibly can have. So I will leave it at that. I have my own inclination toward a view, but I leave it open toward, you know, being different evidence or different ideas. But I do have an inclination toward that view of what you might call emergent mentalism. So emergence, right? Emergentism, or epiphenomenalism. Anyway, Vanessa, welcome. So, guys, really good talk. Again, look out for my free course that I'm going to post on rational decision making. Again, in time for the holidays, but it's going to be on my community tab. The link will be on my community tab within, I think, about a week or so. And so yeah, Alpha Man, I actually have what's called the Critical Thinking Academy. You can check out the Critical Thinking Academy in any of my links in the descriptions and in any of the descriptions of my videos. So that's how you can work with me personally. But besides that, I have many free resources. Again, this is going to be a free course for you guys, a free mini course, but I think very high value. A lot of different worksheets and exercises you can do for better decision making, and really get clarity on how to take action and do, successfully take action in your life. So this will be, I think, hopefully a very helpful course for people, especially going into the new year. So look out for that in the next week. Jaheen, Jaheen's creative. Look out for that. Watch this replay. Watch this replay. I discussed a little bit about that. So something that might help you. So guys, great, being with you every Wednesday. Of course, every Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love talking with you. I'd love to hear from more of you. All right, love to hear from more of you. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Be well, and I will talk to you soon.